So just last night, someone from my Discord sent me this tweet from the Wuthering Waves devs to the main chat, and I kid you not, I've never looked up a video game's Twitter page so quickly just to confirm it. And it really did surprise me when I saw that Kuro was gonna send out a free 5-star standard character banner selector just to compensate for issues that, in my opinion, are not entirely a big deal. And I was even more surprised when I opened my game earlier today to see that it was already in my mail. But it did get me thinking. Wow, they really want to take the battle to Genshin, huh? However, it also made me realize something that some people don't seem to notice about Kuro's actions, so I'm gonna quickly explain it in this video. Right now, I know for a fact that the main thought in everyone's mind after seeing what Kuro tweeted was, wow, Genshin really could never. But I don't think a lot of people understood that Kuro somewhat had, or I'm even inclined to say that they were forced to do something this big to keep this team that's currently billowing from the Wuthering Waves train going strong. Why is it, you ask? Because if you pay attention to the timestamp of when they released that compensation announcement, it was at just past 10 PM on the 24th of May. Why is this important? Well, guess what other announcement finished presenting itself to its audience at just a couple of moments before Kuro decided to release their announcement? That's right. Genshin just finished their preview stream of their upcoming 4.7 version patch. And boy oh boy, if any of you who played Genshin watched it and the trailers that came out of that stream, then you would know that this upcoming patch is gonna be one to shake all them Genshin players to the core. Forget about the fact that we're finally getting Cloran as a playable character, or the fact that we're getting another Dainsleif interlude quest, and forget about the fact that they finally teased us up on the upcoming 5.0 region, Natlan. Despite all those other things to consider, we not only get to see another teaser for the Genshin anime that has long been in the works, we got to see more of Aether and Lumine's anime form in that animated piece, but we also ended up getting a teaser of a possible reunion scene between them in the 4.7 version. For a lot of Genshin players who probably had some thoughts of trying Wuthering Waves in the past couple of days, that thought may have pretty much evaporated in this instant. And of course, the people at Kuro probably understood as much. Look, whether you respect Hoyoverse as a company or not, you have to really give credit where credit is due. Their marketing team and the timing that they choose to present and tease these stuff is just nothing short of impeccable. Because remember, this is not the first time they've pulled something like this in order to keep ahead of their competition. Remember Tower of Fantasy? You know, the game that was supposed to be the first Genshin competitor, only to now have not even a % of Genshin's monthly player count. Yeah, back then, just as Tower of Fantasy was released, Genshin timed it perfectly with the release of Sumeru. And let's be honest, that was such a knockout blow even Iron Mike would be impressed. And this time around, Kuro knows that they're gonna have to pull something special off to make sure that their game doesn't tank in player base number in the same way Tower of Fantasy did. Because let's not allow these rewards to distract us from the fact that the game is currently pretty badly optimized, especially for those on mobile. Not even mentioning how terrible its downloads and file integrity checks are. I've had multiple people complain about how slow it takes to update and have it initialize their files, and it doesn't help that every time the game patches within the game after it launches, you'd then have to exit out of the game and relaunch it once again. I would say that I have a decently beefy computer, and even I still experience some intense stutters and loading times even when I've placed the game on an SSD and put my graphics down to medium. While yes, you can sort of use the whole, oh, it's a new game, you should give them time to actually roll out these hotfixes and then eventually put the game to a more stable state. But there are just some issues such as servers randomly cutting out at any given moment or people being stuck on a constant loop of the game's launch scene. These are things that Kuro really should have ironed out beforehand. Personally, I haven't had any server disconnection issues until just this morning, so it's clearly something that should be looked into much more thoroughly. That being said, I'm not here to just give you the doom and gloom of Wuthering Waves' initial release. Like I've said before, this is still a new game, and of course, they should be able to get on top of the more pertinent fixes soon enough. Also, going back to the free 5-star selector that they've released, I'd say that this is a brilliant marketing move for them to keep their noses at the very least in line with what Hoyoverse is doing with Genshin. Cause let's just make it real clear here. Wuthering Waves is competing with Genshin and Genshin only. Star Rail is not exactly a factor in this case, just due to how different the nature of these two games really are. Why is the free selector a good marketing move instead? Because Kuro must have understood that there's no way that they could currently compete with Genshin in all the other aspects of their game other than pure gameplay. Genshin has had a lot more time to develop their stories, characters, and overall software capabilities. And in all fairness to Hoyo, they have been doing a rather stellar job at developing all those aspects, especially in this last year. I'm not even gonna talk about the difference in musical quality because Genshin still has a very strong chokehold on that aspect over everyone else in the industry. So, with all that in mind, Kuro knew that they had to compete some other way. And the most obvious path is of course to do something that Hoyo hasn't even done once for Genshin in the entire history of its existence. Give their players a free 5-star character. For you Genshin tryhards who are like, it's just a 5-star standard banner character. It's either gonna get power crept or become obsolete real soon. To that I say, just stop coping, man. I'm still very much a Genshin shill, but even I had to think, well, it's still real fucking nice to get one instead of never even getting close to being given one for free. Yet, despite it all kind of looking very much like a Kuro W at this point, I for one still think that this is still very much a situation where both sides get a lot of strong points to take a win from their own perspectives. In Wuthering Waves' side, people are now aware of the possibilities as to how well they're gonna be able to keep their players rewarded, and will have more of a chance to attract more people that might be looking to play a gacha that has an easier and more relaxing start, or attracting all of you Genshin players that's given up and waiting for better rewards from Hoyoverse. Yeah, I see y'all. In Genshin's side, however, this whole shenanigan is still very much an indicator that the ball is still within their side of the court. As it really should be, honestly. A lot of people also forget that Genshin merely teased a new version, albeit one that looks incredibly enticing at the moment, and hasn't even fully released their biggest weapon, which is the new upcoming Natlan region. Coupled with the fact that in all due consideration, if Kuro were to keep going with their whole "let's give them a massive reward every time we do something that the players consider as an oopsie," then Hoyo knows for a fact that this method of doing things is not at all a sustainable one when it comes to keeping their player base, even for the short to medium run. Their character systems are not all that different from what Genshin has, so if collecting character copies and upgrade materials as such becomes something that's a bit too easily given to the players by the team, then it might end up giving people more reason to spend less time in the game. Kuro is going to have to keep pushing the quality of their gameplay, improve their story, and most of all, improve the stability of their game, if they want to have a chance at maintaining a strong portion of their 30 million plus pre-registered player base, and then growing it further in the future. With that all being said, I'm rather confident to think people watching all this unfold pretty much share the same common sentiment, which is the hope that Wuthering Waves would be able to maintain a good course of development and grow to the size that we can really see them potentially reaching. Regardless of the commonly believed notion where people think that Genshin just has too strong of a grip on this niche to care about improving their rewards, it is nice to see that there's finally a game that can really give Genshin a run for its money here. Cause let's be honest, with Wuthering Waves being the way that it is, they have also inadvertently buried Tower of Fantasy another 12 feet under bedrock. So we really only have between these two games to look out for when it comes to the open world gacha market. I can only hope that it will grow to the point where both games can just have its own place within the niche, and that both sides of the community will just eventually learn to appreciate their own games without having to dunk on the other. Albeit, I highly doubt that the latter part is ever gonna happen. This ain't the Minecraft and Terraria relationship we're talking about here. But hey, let a man hope once in a while. That's about it for this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed the discussion, and feel free to let me know what y'all have in mind in the comments down below, as well as a like if you want to. I'm really excited to see what Kuro has in store for the future, and I also hope that Genshin can really deliver with the upcoming patch and Natlan in its entirety. Until the next video, my name's Leafy, and I'll see you next time. Sayonara.